Hi folks, so we had a new moon in Aquarius about, gosh, I want to say 2 hours ago at 1:41 p.m. Pacific time today on January the 24th. And rarely, I think, has there been a more welcome new moon. This new moon is something that we've all been looking forward to because it starts to at least move us away from the intensity of the eclipses that January brought. We had, as you guys know, and there are videos on this on my channel, a solar eclipse in Capricorn on Christmas Day, December 25th, and then a lunar eclipse in Cancer on January the 10th. And eclipse times always put us into a state of anxiety or expectation or intensity, even if what is coming through the eclipses is positive. And in many respects, as I've mentioned before, the signs of Capricorn, where the solar eclipse occurred on Christmas Day, and the signs of Pisces are heavier hit. Pisces isn't heavy hit yet, but it's going to be shortly, whereas the signs of Sagittarius and Aquarius are more normally being transited at these times of the years, and in some ways provide a welcome relief. My last video was on Mars in Sagittarius, and Mars remains in the sign of Sagittarius till February the 17th. So whatever part of your chart Sagittarius occupies is going to still continue to see a certain amount of drive and action and activity. The sign of Capricorn, of course, where the solar eclipse occurred on December the 25th, I've likened that to there being some sort of a forest fire that is ablaze, but is also starting to die down with some new growth coming in. But that's where there's a great deal of intensity in the sign of Capricorn, and that intensity is going to remain as we head towards the July 4th lunar eclipse in Capricorn. But most importantly, February 17th to the end of March sees Mars in Capricorn. So that's going to bring up eclipse, that's going to take what the eclipses are bringing and invite us to act on certain things and push them to the next level. The sign of Pisces, very, very shortly, by the middle of February, is going to see Mercury going retrograde there, and then a new moon there, and a certain amount of intensity and activity. So in the middle of all this, we have the sign of Aquarius between Capricorn and Pisces. And I wouldn't be surprised if many of you are feeling as though the part of the chart where Capricorn sits and the eclipses occurred on the Cancer-Capricorn axis on January the 10th is one aspect of life where there were developments or a certain amount of chaos, etc. And then there's the sign of Aquarius, where a new set of activities have been brewing and have been occurring. And this new moon that occurred a couple of hours ago allows us to pour our energies into. It's as if the tea has been brewing and it's ready to be poured in a cup. So let me explain. Let me give you a list of transits in Aquarius. So the first transit that occurred in Aquarius that is interesting to us is that between December the 20th of 2019 and January the 13th of 2020, Venus moved through Aquarius. So there may well have been opportunities, relationships, financial opportunities, being created by the Venus transit in Aquarius, particularly if in some ways, if they, Aquarius is a pretty independent sign. And so particularly if, it's kind of an interesting thing that I'm saying with regard to there being opportunities for partnerships, but Aquarius as an independent sign, I think I'm going to characterize it and you'll be able to see what it is. But the more important thing is that the way the setup to this new moon has occurred is that between December the 20th of 2019 and January the 13th of 2020, there could have been Venus-related things, opportunities, openings, doors opening, financial opportunities, relationship opportunities, contractual opportunities that somehow made their way, or artistic or creative opportunities or portals that made their way to you. That's one thing for an opportunity to make its way to you. Then there's the question of communication about it, processing it, thinking about it, and really trying to take it to the next level. And January the 16th, January the 13th, Venus moved into Pisces, being the first of the planets now in Pisces. January the 16th, Mercury came into Aquarius, and January the 20th, 4 days ago, the Sun came into Aquarius. So if there were opportunities that were making their way, really for all intents and purposes, either at the end of December, but I'm more inclined to say in the first couple of weeks of January, because the end of December, things make their way to you, but people are on holiday, on vacation, or taking some time off. Irrespective, you have the dates now. Whenever things showed up in the part of your chart where Aquarius sits. So if you know your chart and you know the house where Aquarius sits, there may be things that are coming up that are related to that part of the chart. And so the opportunity showed up, and then there was a certain amount of communication. That could have been emails or contracts or phone calls, or a desire to act on this, but through the lens of processing should I do this, should I not do this, what shall I, And now the new moon occurs 2 hours ago, and it is again another kind of call to action to say, if you're going to move forward on it, and certainly it seems like things have lined up in such a way that I would imagine most people, if there are opportunities that have shown up in the time frame that I mentioned, that are separate from the intense energy of the eclipses that we were dealing with in January. Something hopefully fresh and new and forward-looking, then the new moon a couple of hours ago may give you the energy. If the last 48 to 72 hours, or even 4 days, or even a week have been somewhat indecisive, somewhat pondering, somewhat mental in terms of processing, the new moon from a couple of hours ago allows you now to get the energy internally and start to build some momentum over the next 28 days, but really even in the next 48 to 72 hours in the next week, to get cracking on things. And if there are opportunities or things that have been presented to you, you may decide that you're going to pick up the threads and act on them and avail of them and sign on the dotted line, or start preparing for things, or start getting into action in some way. That would be the timeline. Remember, new moon, the sun may have entered Aquarius on the 20th, but it's the new moon on the 24th today that starts a 28-day cycle related to these events in Aquarius. And 2 weeks from now, we're going to have a full moon in Leo, so there'll be an escalation of energy now as we head towards the full moon in Leo, and then of course a preparation for the next cycle that's going to start 28 days from now. So that briefly is the recap as far as the new moon in Aquarius is concerned. And the only thing that I really want to say is, because Mercury is going to go Aquarius and then Pisces, consecutive signs do, the chart is always creating some sort of a narrative. And, when I think of people's charts, I think that consecutive signs can have some sort of, whatever is going to happen with Mercury retrograde in Pisces, I really feel will have a correlation with the Mercury retrograde in Scorpio in November of 2019. And I think it's going to have some correlation with the eclipses that just occurred. That's my opinion. But it could be that the events that are brewing in Aquarius right now meet some kind of, I don't want to say hitch, but need to be revisited. I don't think it makes sense for us to get into that kind of space of over-processing right now. I don't think this is the time to second guess. If opportunities have come up prior to or by January the 13th that are waiting for you to act on them, and today's new moon gives you the energy and ability to move forward and act on them and crystallize them. And if you know where Aquarius sits in your chart, then you know where this is happening or what themes this is related to. And as I said, the energy is distinct from the eclipses that we had, and the energy is even distinct from the activities in Sagittarius that we have been pouring some of our time and energy and drive into. But if you know what these are, and if everything looks good or seems fine, then by all means, move forward and act on it. I think that if there's some decision that needs to be made, or some sort of contracts that need to be signed, or some sort of dotted line stuff that needs to be done, I would advise certainly trying to get that wrapped up by February the 10th, if not February the 12th, 13th. As you head towards Mercury going retrograde February 17th, I would just say, between then and say about March the 10th, March the 15th, in most cases, is not really the best time to sign on the dotted line. That's sort of conventional Mercury retrograde stuff. And I'll talk about that in another future video. But that's largely it. Those are the dates. Opportunities may have come up: financial, relationship, artistic, creative, anything related to beautification or harmony or improving your environment. I'm thinking about different ways in which Venus, different parts of the chart that Venus can transit. You hear about them, they come to you December 20th to Jan the 13th, and then starting Jan the 16th starts a process, about a week or so of processing. Shall I do this? Shall I do that? Can I do this? What does this mean? How does this going to happen? Blah, 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 blah. And we just don't have the energy to get into action prior to a new moon. The new moon has occurred 2 hours ago. If everything looks good and makes sense to go ahead and pour yourself into something, I would say if you feel good about it, why not go ahead and take action? It could be that certain things that have been brewing for a while, the tea that has been brewing since December the 20th, is now ready to pour into the cup and enjoy. If you found this video useful, go ahead and share it. Like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, click the bell icon next to the subscribe button to know when I'm doing new videos. Leave a comment. My email address is in the description area. You can contact me if you're interested in a reading, or you want me to make you an easy to read version of your chart. And that is where I will leave this. Future videos, we're going to talk about, I do want to revisit certain activities in Capricorn, but I also want to set the stage for what is coming up in Pisces. But don't let the activity in Sagittarius and Aquarius lighten the mood a little bit, and let it distract you. If the eclipse season has been particularly heavy or stressful for you, let those activities be a source of joy, and be a source of forward movement. There will be, whether we like it or not, we're going to be dealing with the eclipses and the Pisces energy shortly, especially as we head into February and March. Okay, over and out.